having an effective practice, it just means you have to be open to trying different things. And if some things fail, you have to be willing to fail. You almost have to want to fail. What's really interesting, I think, the difference between practice and scrims is that scrims is an organized competition, essentially probably against another school of equal or greater skill ranking. So scrims can be practice, and practice can be scrims, but there is a difference between the two. So if I posted in the Discord or in the chat saying, hey guys, make sure you show up for scrims today from 4 to 6. That typically means that I have gone ahead and planned with another school that we are going to play against them from 4 to 6, different maps, different team variations, or whatever we decide to do between 4 to 6. But a scrim typically means that we are scrimmaging another school in a certain gaming title at a specific time from 4 to 6. But for us, practice can be a lot of different things, but scrims is very specific. So.
Yeah, I think for practice usually would involve like the team kind of getting in like a 5 or 6 man stack and going into competitive. And I think when they practice in the kind of like the competitive queue standpoint, it's more like lenient, allows them to try different things. So practice on my team right now, I run it. I give them. We have 2 days a week that we practice. Obviously you have to make the adjustments for people's schedules because it is in the club, and I'm trying not to ask too much of them, but we'll go into practice today we're gonna be working on our team comp. So I'm gonna be like, look, you need to play this champion in this situation. Talking about our upcoming match, which is really important that we have to win to make it to playoffs, like what our plan is for those 3 matches, if it goes to 3 games, what comps we're gonna run in those games in certain situations, if something gets banned or something like that. So it's very goal-oriented, and working with everybody as well and kind of their wants and needs, like, okay, what do you need to work on individually, and identifying that and working on that through practice.
For me, almost immediately what comes to mind is I want someone who's going to come in to work hard and who's open. And when I say open, I mean open in terms of open to trying new strats, open to criticism, open to team comms, open to working with different teams, different players. It just being open in all sense of the word, if that makes sense. Because obviously these players are going to come in and work hard. We expect that, and we expect you to be on time. But in terms of having an effective practice, it just means you have to be open to trying different things. And if some things fail, you have to be willing to fail. You almost have to want to fail. And so in order for us to learn and grow as a team, we have to take those VODs in which we fail and review them. So I think the 2 main factors for me that I'm looking for is that willingness to work hard, but also work hard and be open and willing to fail.
So I think what makes these sprints really interesting is it's, as a sport, other sports, other than maybe hockey or basketball during penalties, is you don't stop. There's no pause in the action. If you die, you're up in 15 seconds. You have to go immediately. So one thing that I've preached a lot is kind of like current introspective review. So if you make a mistake in game, you review that yourself, and you think about, okay, what do I do to avoid that? And each player doing that individually, and then as a team, retrospective review. Mm-hmm. So after the game, you're reviewing it. So, and when it comes to character, like Tyler said, being open is super important, and also being level-headed and being able to review yourself in the moment and worry about that and not the other mistakes that maybe your teammates are making, and talking about that as a team afterwards, because that creates a healthy practice environment.
We're so young as a program, we're all learning together. I know for me as a coordinator, it's very important to make sure that students aren't playing all of the time, because we'll talk a little bit about balance, we'll talk a little bit about human performance, we'll talk a little bit about mental health, but it's important for the students to understand that when you are a student, you're a student first. You come here to Wichita State, you need to make sure you're handling your business on that end. So you need to make sure that you're dedicating enough time and resources and sleep to your classes. But then the next step is, okay, well, how do I balance that? So I look at this as a coordinator and say, okay, we have these set scrim times where we expect you to be here. We have these set game times where we expect you to be here. But I would say, look at your peers. How much are your peers playing that are at a healthy level outside of those scrim times? Because you need to be able to operate at a certain level and have a certain skill ranking to play with these players. So I don't know if that necessarily translates into X amount of hours a day. I'm sure it does. I don't have that number. But what I can tell you is what I'm doing as a coordinator is making sure that yes, honestly, students do play. They probably play once a day. That's just really what it comes down to. They probably hop on, I don't know for how long, but they hop on once a day. For me as a coordinator, I'm encouraging them to, yes, I want you to play, but also I want you to be more than just an esports player. So there's a lot of different initiatives that we're pushing because, at the end of the day, we want these students to be healthy. But there is an element of playing a lot. That's for anything that you do. If you want to be the best artist, you have to paint a lot. If you want to be the best graphic designer, you have to work in Adobe Illustrator and Adobe products a lot. So, there's an element of, when it comes to being the best, there's this obsessive element, but my job is to make sure that these students balance everything correctly. I would just say that I think the main thing is come in with a plan, come in with an idea of what you want to do, because at the end of the day, if you don't come in with a plan and you're trying to work on specific things, then you might as well just practice. You might as well just do comps and just try and get better, and get your skill ranking up, because I wouldn't say it's a waste of time, but I would say that it's already difficult enough to get 7 people in the same room at the same time practicing for 2 hours consecutively. So you have to be incredibly efficient with your time and record what you're doing. So let's say for 2 hours we practiced Ohio State and we worked on a specific map. What worked well on that map? What didn't work well on that map? So I think the last bit of advice I would give to those teams that are trying to practice or scrim effectively is be as specific as possible and make sure that you're using your time efficiently and you come in with a plan. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and click on the link below.